What's going on, world? This is yours truly, Mazi Mutafa, here with the final panel discussion for this week of the inaugural Like a Boss Symposium. And personally, I'm really excited about all of the artists that are here because I've been a huge admirer of their work, and I'm sure many of you have been as well. This is going to be a conversation really about how they got into media making, from photography to videography, and even how they put on other artists. Coming first to the stage, we've got our good friend who's a local DMV artist, but doing work that's been well received all over the world, our good friend Mansa. What's going on, Mansa? Shellin, you are the subject of the #1 quote of 2020, which is "Your microphone is off." Thanks for turning it on.
I just turned it on. You get me now?
Now I can. Yes, sir.
All right, cool.
Coming next to the stage, we've got our good friend coming to us all the way from Brooklyn, New York, our good friend Layla. What's going on, Layla?
Everything's good. Just having some coffee.
No doubt, no doubt. And I feel like last time I checked, he's in New York too, but I'm not sure if he's in Brooklyn, so he can let me know where in New York he's broadcasting from today. Our good friend Ralston.
What up?
Ralston?
What up? What up? I'm actually Layla's neighbor, like 2 blocks from her.
What's up, bro?
What's up, Mansa?
How you been, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
It's a lovely thing to have people get reconnected over the interwebs. For folks that are not necessarily familiar with you all, like the 3 people that are watching that are not, why don't each of you just take a quick second to introduce yourself, talk about the kind of work that you do, and maybe a recent project that you're especially proud of.
Who want to go first?
You said it.
Okay, I'll go first. Can everyone hear me? Well, can my panelists hear me? So my name is Layla Amatullah Barrayn. I am a documentary photographer and a curator. I occasionally organize exhibitions and photojournalist. And I would say a recent project that I'm proud of was that I co-curated an exhibition with my best friend, who is also a photographer. Her name is Adama Delphine Fawundu. And we curated an exhibition at the African American Museum in Philadelphia, which included 54 women and non-binary photographers who responded to the theme of masculinity. And so it was a really beautiful show, just kind of celebrating and quite, being kind of curious about this idea about Black masculinity. So we had a beautiful show that explored this theme, beautiful images of Black men around the world. So that was a show I was very proud of. One of the reasons why I was proud of it is because it was the biggest photography show of Black women and non-binary photographers.
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Ralston Smith. I am a photographer, filmmaker, and editor, currently based in Brooklyn, New York. And one of the recent projects that I did was it's been an interesting summer, so I haven't been doing much as far as documenting the protests, but I was able to actually create some things recently. And one of the things that I did was one of my friends, Hollis King, asked me to shoot and film something of choreographer and dancer Ron K. Brown on the Black Lives Matter mural here on Fulton Street in Brooklyn. And so it was good because it felt good to actually create again and do something that's inspired by the moment. So, thanks.
What's up, everybody? My name is Mansa Johnson. I'm a cinematographer and editor and filmmaker. I first got into media, I guess, through when I went to Morgan State through my twin brother. Like the first day I got there, I was a general studies major, and he was just like, "You should shoot videos, bro." And it just kind of went from there. And now it's like my profession and my passion. But I say probably the project I'm most proud of to this point right now is a documentary that I worked on as a producer too, as well. And it's called "What Happened in Chocolate City." And it's about like the gentrification and everything that's going on in DC right now, and like some of the policies and people that's behind it. And so it just kind of uncovers a lot. And me being from DC, it was like really important to work on that project. So, and then like outside of that, I also work on like a lot of music videos, and I had the opportunity to shoot a video for Jasmine Sullivan. And so that was real cool. And probably those two things right now, but I'm definitely just, you know, keeping my head down, always grinding to work on more and more stuff. So.
Dope. I'm curious, could each of you talk about what made you decide that photography or videography or both would be the way that you would tell stories, and why you decided to tell visual stories?
Well, for me, I was inspired by actually a DC photographer named Jatai Lindsay. Mm-hmm. And at the time I was working as a customer service rep at Fannie Mae. And so I wasn't doing anything creative, but I was just seeing this work by this brother that was just documenting the local hip hop scene in DC. And at the time, his website was divinecypher.com, right? And so it was just good to see and see that there was like this young brother that was documenting the things that I loved, you know, and it's doing it really beautifully. And I didn't have a camera, I didn't have a video camera, not laptop at all, you know, and working at Fannie Mae. And I decided to actually apply to film school, documentary film school. And I applied and I didn't get in. So I used the money that I was going to spend on school to buy equipment. So I bought a Panasonic DVX 100, tape-based, a camera, it was like a Canon 10D, and a laptop. And I bought a whole bunch of books and DVDs with the director's commentary, and then that's how I got my start as far as learning filmmaking and photography. So it's just really being inspired by somebody that was local, that was doing it, and at the time, like I said, I was really just pursuing my passions outside of work because my job was just basically a temp job, right? And so one of the things that I was doing to just kind of, I guess, pursue my passions was I was taking like a salsa dance class, right? And the instructor was getting ready to do a trip to Cuba. And so I reached out to one of the people that I was going to be filming, and I basically just negotiated, say, look, you know, you're going to be filming. Why don't you just have me come on as a second camera and I'll shoot? And we just negotiated like a sale of each DVD sold afterwards, right? And so I was able to take a trip to Cuba and document what was happening there, and just write it off as a business trip, you know? And like that's how I got my start in terms of just realizing that I can combine my artistry with profession. And at the time, like I didn't know what I was doing, you know, my white balance was off, but I just had heart and hustle, and like that's how I got my start in just kind of learning how to film. Yeah. So I'll pick the next one then. So we'll go with Matt.
The question was, how do we get into this?
Yeah, how did you get started? How did you decide to make it like a profession?
Well, like I said, for me, it was my my twin brother that got me into it. My twin brother actually passed away like last April in 2019 too. So it's kind of just been like, from this point on, it's just been like more so just understanding, like he gave me the idea to shoot videos for a reason. Like I know it was something that made him say it, like even though it wasn't in my mind at the time when he said it, like he said it so simple, and then the fact that it's like my passion, now it's my profession, I know he said it for a reason. So just for that one thing, like my twin brother is always somebody that I've been trusting my whole life. Like that's my best friend and everything. So like when he said it, I just ran with it from there. And then now it's just like I see like how much I guess how close the world gets, like when you're in this world of videography. Like you meet so many different people, you run into so many different cultures, you learn so much, you get to travel. And then at the same time, like on top of all of that experience, you can make like real good money in this career. And so I think that's what's kind of keeping me driving right now, man. It's something that's fun. It never feels like work to me. And like you can make money doing it. So it's like you can't beat that.
Can't beat it at all.
All right.
Yeah, so I am inspired by the way photographs have been sites of cultural transmission. You know, growing up looking at Ebony Magazine, Jet Magazine, and different images of Black people that I've come across through publications, or seeing those images in museums or on television. That really inspired me. Also, the images in my family album, I always talk about my family album because the way that my relatives were explained to me by other relatives, you know, using the photo in hand, just kind of sharing those stories and who they were, informed who I was, because then I felt like I was a part of something, and I knew who my recent ancestors were through these photographs. So I realized the power of the photograph through those two different ways: looking at magazines and, you know, engaging with my family photo albums. And you know, when I grew up, when I got older and, you know, got my first camera, I started to document my own communities and saw the power in that and storytelling through those different ways. So yeah, I started in the late 90s. I was a reporter, first writing, and then of course using my camera and my photographs to accompany the articles that I would write. So and, you know, I was inspired by other photographers who were around me at the time, whose books that I read. You know, one person is Chester Higgins, who I recently spoke to, and he was a huge influence in me understanding the way photography influences my identity as a Black diasporic person. And some people like Deborah Willis, who has dedicated so much of her life to the scholarship around Black photographers and the work that we have done throughout, you know, since the inception of photography. So, yeah.
You know, Layla, the other day, I'm gonna put you on the spot, because the other day you posted, it's a good spot though, it's a good spot. Because the other day I saw on Instagram, you posted this quote from a photographer who really kind of spoke to what you were just talking about, this idea of being inspired by magazines and the ability to tell the story, particularly of Black people, in a time where there weren't outlets to show the stories. If you could find that quote, because I literally took screenshots of it because I was going to read it to you, but I'd rather, if you have the time, I know you've got tons of posts, but if you could find it, just because I thought it was so compelling to think about.
I think that it might have been Chester Higgins, because I've been thinking about him lately. I've been having conversations with different people, photographers, thinkers, my friends, just about how they feel about, you know, what's happening now, you know, just checking in. And I've been sharing some of that on Instagram. And I thought about Chester Higgins because we had a conversation about 10, 12 years ago. And I know that he's been documenting our people since forever. And he's dedicated himself to that. Even as a photojournalist, he was, you know, at the New York Times for about 40 years. And but also he continued with his personal projects. And I like his work because he has spent so much time documenting and exploring and visually engaging Black people in America, as well as, you know, our cousins, our African cousins on the continent. So he's always looking at himself in this grand scheme of, I'm a Black American in America, and I am part of a global diaspora community. And I just wanted to check in with him. And he was so gracious with me. We spoke about 3 hours, but I pulled some quotes from him and I shared that on Instagram, and you can find it there. And that's something that I've been always dedicated to doing, looking at the Black diaspora everywhere, you know, here, of course, obviously in the States, on the African continent, in the Caribbean, and wherever we are. You know, I haven't been to South America yet, but I'm interested in that. And I'm interested in our lives in the Middle East and also Europe. So he has been someone who's inspired me. And also on my Instagram, I spoke with Michelle Agins recently, who's a staff photographer at the New York Times. And I was interested in what she thought about the uprisings this year, because she had, of course, documented uprisings that happened before, namely the uprisings that was associated with the murder of Yusuf Hawkins. So I was very curious to just check in and see what she thought. And those are two recent posts on my Instagram, and those are two photographers that I'm inspired by. Those are my heroes. Those are my personal heroes, and I'm always dedicated and interested in pushing their narratives any way that I can. You know, they don't need me to, obviously, they're legends, but any way that I can, you know, share in that, I would like to do that.
I guess along the same lines, Ralston and Mansa, are there people whose work, even if you don't necessarily know them personally, people whose work you draw on for inspiration?
I mean, as far as photography, you know, Layla, you mentioned South Africa. One of the photographers that I really love his work is Justice Michele. And so I really love his work. I love just Josiah Lindsay's work as far as photographers. And there's a brother out of Baltimore, Pierre Benu. His IG is exittheapple.com. And I feel like he's just one of the most important artists today. Those are some of the photographers. And I'm a big music lover. So some of the people that inspire me musically, and I feel like it's all connected. You know, I feel like, you know, as creators, we kind of take from just life and bring it into our art. And musically, I love, you know, Blitz the Ambassador, Christian Scott, jazz trumpeter. So those are two like the people that I've been following here, here in New York.
I say for me, one person that whose career that I like really try to pay attention to a lot, just because it's somewhere where I hope to be one day, is Bradford Young. He's a DP and cinematographer. He shoots like a lot of, he shot like Star Wars. He shoots like all types of movies, and he's like a black man that like knows he's a black man. Like he doesn't try to switch up his ways to be in like white Hollywood or anything like that. Like he stays true to who he is, and just like how he navigates and does his work at like such a high level is like super inspirational to me. So that's one person who I always pay attention to. I met him a couple times too, and he's always like real cool people. And then outside of that, I say I got like a lot of peers that I get to work with like from the day to day. One of my partners' name is Shalape Oriola, and he does like a lot of sports documentaries and stuff like that. And his stuff always inspires me too, because he always draws a parallel between like sports and like actual life, and just how many dynamics are similar, and how you, like things you learn on the court or the field is things that really could be applied to your life. And he's always like just fighting. He worked for the Wizards for a couple of times, and like he just been grinding too. But I went to Morgan with him too. But and then also my other partner, Miyote Kabata, she's the one that wrote and directed the documentary that I was talking about, what happened in Chocolate City. But she's from Cali. She moved here to go to GW, and then she ended up like falling in love with DC. And so now she's here, even though it's such like everybody knows like LA is this place to be if you want to be in videography or cinematography or film. But like she's falling in love with DC, and like her grind and work ethic is real good. And then just on like on a family level, I say like somebody who always inspired me is my mom. My mom is somebody that like she works like super hard. Like I remember when we was younger, she'll be gone before we went to go get on the school bus, and then at nighttime she wasn't getting home till like 8 o'clock and stuff like that. And she put me and my twin brother through private school and everything, then put us in college of course too. So my mom is like somebody that just inspires me on a daily, all the time.
That's beautiful. And then Bradford Young, he's Howard University, so there's definitely that.
Yeah, I got to sit with him and Holly Garima one time, and I ain't even like talk. I just sat in there just soaking up all the knowledge that they was just sharing and talking about, man. It was cool.
What's interesting is that the way I got my start was one of my good friends, she was going to Howard and she was getting her MFA at Howard University. And she was getting her thesis. And she was doing her thesis film, and her cinematographer, who was also at Howard at the time, was Bradford Young. And so I had a space in Virginia, and so they filmed some of that her film there, and I just got to see like black folks creating, you know, young black folks creating, and it was just really beautiful. And I remember just kind of having this like debate with Bradford at the time. And we were just talking about like people who we should be paying attention to, you know? And I think I might have said something about like Tupac, and he was just like, nah, man, you need to be paying attention to your grandma. You know what I mean? Like he was just like, look, like tell the stories of people that you know, black folks that you know, just kind of start there, you know? And then, you know, for people that are paying attention or listening, Bradford Young became the first African-American to be nominated for an Oscar in cinematography. For The Arrival. So like really, really talented brother. And then like another like degree of separation, Mansa and I, we worked on a project two years ago. So I got a chance to document the premier film festival for the National African American Museum of History and Culture in DC. And they had 3 different master classes. One was from, I can't remember who the first one was, but one was from Rada Blank. She did screenwriting. And so she has a film called 40-Year-Old Version right now on Netflix. And the other one in cinematography was Bradford Young. So we all got a chance to like sit in on that. And that was just like really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was amazing, man.
Yeah.
Well, so why don't we talk about some of the major works that each of you have done? I know Mansa talked about What Happened to Chocolate City as a major project that he's worked on. Layla, I know you recently published the first volume of an all-Black women's photography book.
Book, yes.
Yeah, I was trying to think, should I say book or should I?
It's a book.
Yes. You published volume 1, I feel like 2 or 3 years ago now.
2017. So the book is called Fun, Women Photographers of the African Diaspora. And we published it in 2017. I'm so proud of that project. It was, 10 years in the making. Me and Delphine, we really, really wanted that book to exist in the world. We looked to, we really wanted that book to exist in the world. You know, back in 2006, that's when we had the idea. And we went along traditional routes, tried to find an agent and have our agent approach one of the bigger publishing houses and all of that, you know, and we weren't able to get it off the ground. There wasn't any interest from the bigger publishing houses, but we knew that book needed to exist in the world. So we kept it in the back of our minds. We shelved it for a little while. And in 2016, 10 years later, we revisited the project and was able to produce it in such a dynamic and expansive way. You know, we included photographers from around the world. We included so many beautiful stories and expressions that the women, you know, created. It's an intergenerational book. You know, the youngest photographer was 14 at the time, and the most senior was 92 at the time. And everyone, everywhere in between, you know, different genres of photography, from photojournalism to fashion to conceptual work. It was a really just a love letter to us, really. You know, we needed that book to exist in the world and to exist in institutions and to exist in personal and public libraries, to show that, you know, we are here, we're engaging with the medium, we're engaging with that form. And so it was self-published. We did it in 10 months and started in January, released the book in October. And as soon as it released, it basically flew off the shelves, quote unquote. And we were able to have it, you know, we were shipping the book, because we're self-published, we were physically shipping the book everywhere from Chile to Australia, to Italy, to Senegal. And just really excited that we were able to share that work. So that was a huge project of mine that I'm, you know, so proud of. And it's out of print now, but it'll be back in print in the spring of next year, thank goodness. So keep posted, you know, on that. I'll keep you posted on that if you follow us. So yeah.
And the last time I saw you talk about the book, you were talking about there being a volume 2. Is that still in the works?
Well, the new book will have it'll be an updated version of the original book. So,
Gotcha.
You know, that's kind of sort of a volume 2, but it'll be that same book, but an expanded version with some updates and new essays. So really excited about that. And I'm also working on a new book of my own on Black photographers. So I'm excited about that as well.
Wonderful. Let me go ahead and bring Ralston back to the stage, because Ralston, I know you have a piece that you actually wanted to share. I met you as a photographer, and I know that you've been moving a lot more in the direction of doing more film-based work, and I know you had a piece you wanted to actually share. Do you want to talk about that journey, though, from photography to videography?
Yeah, yeah. And then just real quick, I stepped away real quick just to kind of bring, this is the book that she was talking about Black women photographers from across the diaspora.
Thank you.
It's an incredible book. And yeah, don't let Layla's smile, fool you, because she is just one of the most inspiring people, that I know. I mean, her work ethic and just her ability to just create and do projects, and it's just really impressive. And I think as we're talking about creatives, I also love the fact that she was able to kind of create things that are tangible products that you could sell. So as people are thinking about going into the creative field, I feel like there's different areas where you can actually work for people. You could be a freelance person, and then you could also create products. So you could be a true entrepreneur, and to start thinking about, when you're coming into this field, thinking about ways that you can actually create a sustainable career for yourself. And creating products is a good way to think about that, And then as far as my career, I got started documenting the music scene in DC. Like I said, I'm a big music lover, and I feel like, I had my Canon 10D, my Panasonic DVX 100, and one of the first projects that my friend Sam and I created was, we actually created a product for a musician, Eric Roberson. He had a show at 930 Club, and we ended up following him around over the course of 2 years and documenting his performances in DC. And we put together a DVD, Arrow Live Volume DC. And this is pre-Facebook. So we were promoting it through MySpace, and selling it on Amazon and on his website. And that was a product that we created. So my transition really was never a transition. It was just pretty much, I kind of go back and forth between the photography, the video production, and in editing. And as people are thinking about what careers to pursue, I feel like it's important to think about first pursuing your love, but then also knowing that the more things that you're able to do and provide as a service to other people, the more valuable you could be in the marketplace. So my ability to kind of do a variety of different things has enabled me to kind of make more money. Or in the course of this pandemic, I had a major client that on the contract, I was scheduled to shoot conferences over the course of the year, but also edit the conferences. So with the conferences being eliminated, I was still able to bring some work in by being able to edit and provide that service for them, right? So with that said, I just wanted to kind of show you some of the work that I've created over the 15, 17 years that I've been doing what I've been doing. I'm a big music lover, like I said. I love to document culture, specifically like Black culture. And I just wanted to show you like about a 3-minute demo reel of some of the things that I've done over the course of these years. So what I'd like to do right now is just kind of share my screen and show you what I have.
Ralston,
Yep.
you're actually not sharing your screen right now.
It's not?
No.
Let's see. Boom. I'm seeing it shared on.
Because what happens is when you share it, it pops up on my side and it's not popping up. So maybe you want to close out of the screen that you already had and reshare it.
Let's see. Let's try that again. Let me know if it's coming up on your end.
Not yet. If you want, we can come back to this.
Sure, no problem.
And so you keep working on your side to try to share it with me, and once it's shared with me, I'll let you know, and then we'll bring it up.
Okay.
Cool. All right, so Mansa, I know you're always working. Every time I call you, it's like, yo, I'm on a new project, B.
Man, I appreciate it, bro.
I wonder. So each of both Layla and Ralston talked about kind of the balance between that contracted work and the things that really feed their spirits. And as Layla said, like the things that they know within them need to exist.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what kind of projects are you or do you hope to be working on that you as a creative know need to exist in the world?
Right. I mean, for one, I will say, like, it just so happens that a lot of times when I do get contracted work, it just happens to be in like lanes that I'm passionate about. So that's always a benefit. Like I said, I worked on the documentary What Happened in Chocolate City, and that was like one of the first projects that I worked on that kind of like aligned with like my way of thinking and like just the way my dad raises. My dad was a Black Panther, so he always taught us to be like, be aware of our communities and like do something for your community and be like an activist. And so this project, What Happened in Chocolate City, that was one of the first times where like I kind of like understood like how much power that your camera has and like how you could really like tell a story that can impact a lot of people. And then outside of that, I haven't really got to like a lot of my own like passion projects. That's something that a lot of my friends always get on me about. They always be like you should always be like working on your contracted work, but you should always have like a passion project that you're working on too. So I think eventually like I do want to get more into shooting feature films and like short films and stuff, because I got ideas from way back when, well, not way back, but when I was at Morgan, I like wrote a bunch of scripts. So I think one day like I just hope to probably shoot like a couple of those, and now I'm to the point where I got enough gear where I could do it too. So I don't know, maybe 2021 I get started on that or something. We see. We waiting on Mazi.
Maybe.
That's hilarious. I was sitting there having a conversation with myself. Thanks for letting me know. I said, what's funny is that I know that Ralston knows Layla and Ralston knows Mansa. So in this case, apparently, Ralston is the plug. He's the connect in the situation. I wonder if there are questions about your own bodies of work that you have for each other. And maybe Ralston, are there questions you have for Mansa about a project that you all worked on, or a question for Layla about the various projects? We talked about her book, but I know if you follow her on Instagram, you know that she's also got gallery shows and all kinds of, so like.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm really just curious how Mansa has this beautiful camera on his this looks like mad like
that is like
like a depth of field. I want to know what camera that is on your laptop, because it looks like very cinematic, you know.
Yeah.
But before that, like you know, as we think about creatives just kind of add in value, you know, one of the ways that Mansa and I connected was that, you know, we were doing this project in DC, and I had never worked with somebody who had a gimbal before, and I really wanted to have incorporated a gimbal in this project. And so reached out to a few folks, and was able to connect with Mansa, and he just did this bang up job. It's really beautiful. I still got to show you what it looks like, you know. But I'm kind of curious to know like how you ended up getting into being a gimbal operator, as far as like one of the things that you provided, right? Because I think about the idea of creatives like being able to differentiate ourselves, right? And right now, a lot of people have access to like a good quality camera, right? But what's the thing that makes us different, you know? So it could be the ability to, like I said, have a gimbal, maybe a drone, but then also like your storytelling skills overall, you know, or your ability to edit or do motion graphics and things like that. So I'm curious to know from the both of you, like, what are those things that you feel are like your points of differentiation, right, in terms of your creativity? And then for I'd love to have you, Layla, answer that as well. But along with that, I feel like, Layla, like you are the queen when it comes to traveling, international travel, and grants, right? So I'd love to kind of get some tips as far as kind of navigating those spaces, you know. So yeah.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
You can go first.
I think for me, I'm always curious. I'm a very curious person, and have a lot of questions, and a lot of my questions are about identity and who I am, my place as a Black woman, a Black diasporic woman in the world, my roots, my connections. And so a lot of my storytelling and my projects have been along those lines. I'm always interested in the experiences of women, the experiences of our spiritual lives. You know, we have so many different spiritual expressions, you know, as Black diasporic people. I'm interested in our style. I'm interested in how we tell stories. We tell stories so many different ways. You know, there's storytelling, there's history in so many of our expressions, from our music, from our food, you know, our dance and our style. And all of those things are very fascinating to me. And I'm proud because those are part of me. So I want to explore them. So all of my projects are always stemming from that or building from that. You know, whether I'm in Senegal looking at Sufism, or here in Brownsville, kind of looking at migration histories and patterns from Black people in the United States. So that's what I've been interested in. So I've always been pursuing those ideas, and because they are authentically, you know, I've been interested in them, like authentic. I'm like babbling now, but that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in myself, in my people. And so all of these things come from my heart. And I think that is the key, to explore stories from your heart. You know, what are you interested in? You know, and not what is being kind of projected onto you. You know, find that place, you know, sit with yourself and think, you know, what are you interested in? What do you believe should be kind of explored through your art?
And then how were you able to kind of like navigate or bridge that gap between finding out what you're interested in and then being able to articulate and put that into a system to where like you could apply for grants and start like getting funding for these projects to kind of fund them?
Well, I'm always creating. I'm not the type of person that will put something out only when it's perfect. I'm the queen of now. I'm the queen of now, because I feel like that's part of the process. You create, it's at the point you feel is at the point to be shared with the world. And when you share something with the world, people are engaging, you're getting feedback, and the idea is growing. It's being fortified by these exchanges. And so that's how, you know, whatever you're working on becomes the bigger project. It becomes the more complete project. It's not complete, but it's closer to that, because it's in the world and it's being shaped and it's being just kind of flourished by being present in public with people. And with that, I like to talk. I love to be in conversation. I have a million questions at any time of the day. And when it comes to money, I'm not shy about that. I will ask questions about how to get funding for something. Where's the money? How do I get the money? What methods and ways? What are the best practices for grant writing? I'm always in conversation with the hopes of getting information on how to support my art or how to support the art of my friends and my colleagues. So I think the key is just kind of not being shy to talk to people and to ask questions and to receive the answers as well. So just being open, always being open to that. I hope I answered that.
You did, thanks.
You're welcome.
You remember the question, Mansa?
I think he was asking how did I get into doing gimbal work and
Steadicam work. Yeah.
Oh, and then
points of differentiation, and then even the camera.
Right. So the camera is actually my 5D Mark IV. Canon just put out like this new little beta software for like using your DSLR as a webcam, and all you do is got like plug it in with a USB. So I've been like testing it out just to see, because I've been doing like a lot of like live streaming work now since everything happened. Like everybody wants to do like some type of live streaming event. So this is actually one of the ways where I did do a project where I like set up my camera on a tripod, gave the person a laptop, and we shot it like this. So it's kind of, I just been kind of pivoting, man, like during COVID, just to like keep on the hustle and try like stay in front of everything. But getting into gimbal work, it's funny because I actually was, when I'm like, I guess I'm kind of like a camera nerd. Like I'm always just reading and researching about new cameras, lenses, and equipment and stuff like that. And it's like I read a lot about gimbals, but like I never thought of it as like a tool that would help me or anything like that. But like eventually one of my friends, he does photography. His name is Yogi. But he had one. He was like, bro, I got this, but I thought I was gonna get more in the video, but I'm still sticking in photography. So I actually want to sell mine if you want to buy it. And he gave me like such a good deal on it. I was like, cool, I buy it. And I bought it from him. And like the first time I used it, I was like, this is definitely about to be a tool that I like continue to use. And from there, like I got the gig with you, and then I got a lot of gigs with the Washington Wizards, just because like their whole video staff, like nobody was using gimbals in there. So they actually like just started booking me on gigs just because I used to shoot with the gimbal all the time. So it's like getting the gimbal and all that like opened up a lot of new opportunities for me. And I think it definitely did like differentiate me from like other freelancers and people that was doing things, because I feel like I got on the wave like at a proper time. And then also it's just like when I was at Morgan, like I said, my twin brother is the one that got me into like doing film. But when I first started, it was always just things we used to watch together, and we'd be like, oh yeah, that was shot dope. And like, so I think like just from that style, like I just started building, and I would shoot things, and long as my twin brother said it was dope, then it was good to me. Like my teachers would be like, what is this? You need to be on a tripod. You shouldn't be shooting like this. But if my twin brother said it was good, and if like any of my brothers, because it's 6 of us all together, but if any of them was like, oh yeah, that's dope, then I always just ran with that style. And so that's kind of like just what gets me to shooting with like lenses like this. Like the f-stop on this is a f1.4, so that's what gives like the good depth of field. Like that's something that me and my twin brother used to always like in shots. So it's just like from the lenses to the gimbals that I get, like everything that I'm getting is like things that I feel like it like gives me a look that I'm attracted to. So as long as I could build off of that, then I just keep moving with it. So.
You know, I'm curious. I know that all of you on some level have been teachers. I know for a period of time, Ralston taught in the Words Beats and Life Academy. I know Layla was a classroom teacher, but I also know she's done photography workshops in embassies and other parts of the world. And Mansa's always teaching whoever's there to support. So I wonder, why do you all think it's important to pass on your knowledge to others?
Well, as you know, with teaching is an exchange. It's a two-way exchange, right? So when you are sharing what you know, you are receiving information from your students who are also sharing what they know. You know, you can't always assume that you know everything. I love teaching. I love sharing. Teaching is part of the process. It's part of the practice because you're learning. And I think it's important to, what am I trying to say? I think it's important to, as a person of African descent, to ensure that our identities, our histories, our stories are always intact and passed on and not forgotten. And that's one of the reasons why I engage in that process with teaching, you know, to ensure that that's always being passed along, because the threat of that being erased is always present. You know, so I almost think it is a responsibility to share what you know, to pass on what you know, and to solidify that you were there, and to have your students understand that the work that they create, their presence is important too. And for them, when it's time for them to pass that along as well. I'm done.
You want me to go next? Yeah, I guess I'll go next. But so I guess I don't necessarily consider myself like a teacher, I guess, but like Mazi said, I do always try to share whatever information, and I do have like right now I'm teaching my younger brother about like videography and stuff, because school got all messed up for him. So it's like kind of just to keep him proactive. I've been taking him on shoots and stuff. But just to piggyback off what Layla was saying, it's definitely like, I feel like one thing that's always keeping me like feeling like I'm progressing and growing is learning. And one way you learn is by teaching, like Layla was saying. It's like every time you're teaching somebody, if they ask a question, sometimes you might not have the answer to it. Then you go figure out the answer to that. So that's like something that you gain where you could then go back and share it with them. But it also benefited you because you learned from it. So that's like a lesson I learned way back at Morgan, because I used to basically like sleep in the editing lab. And people would always come to me to ask me questions and stuff like that. So a lot of things that I learned was just from people asking me questions. And so that's definitely just one of the reasons why I always try to share whatever knowledge I have. And then also, like I said, my dad, he was a Black Panther, and he was somebody like in his whole life, like I never asked him a question that he didn't know the answer to. And so it was like, I always felt like he just had like a wealth of knowledge, and he always was sharing it. And every time he'll share it with somebody, like they'll always talk about it on their end, just be like, your dad's so smart and all of that. So I think that's just like something that also inspired me just to always like gain knowledge and share knowledge, is just like watching how my dad operated through his life. So.
And for me, you know, like I didn't go to school for this. So like I said, I was learning from books, DVD commentaries, and people who would, you know, who were willing to answer my questions, you know. And it's a very frustrating thing when you're basically trying to acquire knowledge and having a difficult time, you know, getting people to kind of, you know, actually spend time with you and share that information. So it's a lot of piecemeal stuff, you know what I mean? And being a creative, like it's interesting and surprising, like how much technical information is that you're actually working with, right? And so, you know, with that, it's important to kind of like have people just kind of like pick, you know, ask questions and learn from, you know what I mean? Whether it's like people in person, YouTube videos, trainings. And so because I had a difficult time or challenges, you know, when I first got started, anytime I see people, particularly in the beginning phases of their career, like I'm always down to share, you know. I love sharing the things that I love, and I love learning. And so with that, I love teaching, right? And, you know, it's interesting because all that stuff does come back to you. You know, one of the people that I remember in the beginning of my journey, I was teaching him editing. It's brother Crispin Brooks. And I was teaching him at the beginning of his career. 5-10 years later, like he ended up moving back to Anguilla, and he brought me down maybe like 3 or 4 times to work on a project for him, you know? And, you know, when I was teaching him, like there was no thought about like the being reciprocated in that way. But there's just something about being able to teach. And I feel like knowledge is so tied to like identity, right? And then, you know, oftentimes like in the school system, we may have trouble learning a thing, but it doesn't mean that you're stupid. It just means like the way it's being taught to you is just not clicking yet, right? So I feel like it's more on the onus of the teacher as opposed to the person that's learning, right? So I'm a big proponent in realizing and realizing that, look, you may learn from reading, you may learn better from talking, you may learn better by like actually like taking the item, you know what I mean, physically taking something and just like fiddling, right? Like just learning by experience. And so I'm a big proponent of just kind of figuring out a person's learning style and teaching them that way, you know? But yeah, I feel like knowledge it can be so tied to like identity and self-esteem. And so I feel like if you can take away any shame that may come with like not knowing something or feeling like you can't learn something, then that's part of the solution right there.
You know, I feel like one of the things that I want to point out about each of you is just how generous you are as human beings. Like to be in each of your presence is always to be in the presence of a giant who doesn't treat other people that way. Like each of you have kind of and I feel like this is a compliment, like a common man's or common woman's touch, that you feel like so relatable as just people, despite all of your accomplishments. And it's not even about humility. It's just about like humanity and recognizing that you're part of a family that has a vision that you want to share with the world. Speaking of which, Layla asked you this before we got on air. So one of the lessons that she wanted to learn from you, Ralston, was how it is that you were able to get one of the last photos of Prince published in Rolling Stone. While you're thinking about that story, I've actually got the reel that you want to share. So do you want me to share that first, or do you want to share how it is you built that relationship?
I'll share how I built that relationship. So it's that came out of the blue. It's I was in San Francisco. I had a client shoot, but I'd also gone to see Yasiin Bey perform, and I had posted some of my work on IG and Twitter, but then I also shared some of the work on OK Player as far as the Yasiin Bey concerts. And then on the way back to California, I'm in the airport and I'm going through my cell phone, and then in the subject heading it says special request on behalf of Prince. And then I'm thinking it's like a Nigerian scam kind of thing. Well, I'll check the thing and see what it is, right? And then I'm reading the thing, the email, and basically it's just like, hey, Prince is a fan of your work. He'd love to know, love to know if you'd like to come to Paisley Park and shoot. And I'm just like, what? And I'm getting ready to go back to the East Coast, and I've never gotten internet access on the plane before, but I got it right then, just so I could continue communication with this person. And I got a chance to work with Prince on 3 different occasions, so I got a chance to go to Paisley Park 2 or 3 times. Back to the East Coast, and I'm hearing the echo. So I got a chance to go to Paisley Park, got to shoot his band, Third Eyed Girl. A week later, I got invited to film his concert that he was doing in Baltimore. It was a tribute concert to Baltimore and Freddie Gray. And so I was the only photographer chosen, to shoot. And then also got to direct a lyric music video for his song Baltimore, and that's definitely the highlight of my career, one, because like I said, throughout this whole conversation, I'm a big music lover. So obviously I'm a fan of Prince. And then 2, the project just was about justice for Black people, right? So it was a combination of something that was timely. It was for Black people. It was for one of the legends in the game, and it involved music, and pretty much creating the work for him and his team. They have their own PR entity. So whatever they do, they have connections with all these different outlets to kind of share the work. So that's how it ended up in places like, the Rolling Stone magazine. So, yeah. But, it's, I think one of the lessons that can be learned from that is just maybe the importance of sharing your work, and because you never really know who's paying attention to what you're doing. And so I think that's that may be one of the key takeaways from that, share your work, Put it out there. Because people are paying attention, even though you may not know that.
So as we get ready to wrap up, Ruff, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play your video as the very last thing. I have one last question for everybody, which is, if you could talk to your younger self and give him or her one piece of advice, one lesson that you wish you didn't need to learn through experience, what is that? What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self? And all of you have your socials up, so people please follow them on Instagram. So one piece of advice you give to your younger self, and then we'll wrap up and we'll play Ralston's 3-minute sizzle reel.
I mean, I think my thing is, when you're getting started, you're going to have, once you find the thing that you really love, nobody can really talk you out of it, right? Meaning there's things that you're going to do that people won't think is sane for the average person. The beauty of that is, most people don't find things that they're really passionate about, with a creative career, you're going to have so many different highs and lows. I would say the one thing that I would advise my younger self, and I think, Mansa, you're probably the youngest in this crew. I I would just say start putting some money aside each month, invest it in like an online savings account, and then use that money to like put towards investing, right? Because as you're younger, you have a lot of time on your side, right? So with the value of time and money, that money can grow while you're just kind of like playing and learning some things. The creative career is one of those things where you really get caught up, Lesu, in like all the gear and like gear acquisition. But if you can try and set aside like $5 a week, $20 a month, just to start putting that aside towards money, towards investing, 20 years from now, that's going to mean so much. So let's basically invest in your future self. And I would say that that's one of the key things that I would like to share and impart to people.
I guess I would say, to the point that Ralston made, what is to know and understand and believe that you are worth your dreams, you're worth your desires and your goals, you're worth it. Don't be afraid to pursue them, even though they may seem big or loftily or far away, but they're worth it, you're worth it, and you should pursue your dreams by any means, because you're worth it.
I guess for me, one thing for sure, I feel like I'm still learning it right now, but like actually like diving deep into understanding the business side of things. I think it's easy to like grab a camera and like kind of just jump into the art side of things and like really like just start shooting and doing the work and stuff like that. And sometimes like you forget like just how important the business side of things is, and like just having like the permits in order and like invoices and all of that stuff, like getting all of that stuff on the basis of just a business level is good and beneficial. And then like backing up your work, I had a situation where I had like a lot of my gear got stolen, and like I lost like so many clients' works and like shots and stuff like that. And so it was like a huge setback for me. But just that situation was just crazy for me.
Yes.
Can y'all hear me? I guess my camera's acting up, but I just keep talking. But that's one thing. And then also just I guess I don't know, I guess just always being open and like not being afraid to like pursue people. I'm somebody that's like kind of laid back, and so I don't always like jump out there and talk to people like you were saying, Layla. And so that's one thing that like I feel like when I start, like the more I open up, I feel like the more opportunities always come back to me. So that's something I'm also in the process of doing. And I don't know, like I'm always just trying to learn, man. And I don't know, I tell myself a lot of things if I could talk to my youngster. I just turned 30 though, so I don't know.
That was a good year.
Well, I want to thank all three of you for being here tonight. Ralston, we're about to go ahead and play your reel. Did you want to say anything before we play it?
No, this is just a collection of primarily the cultural stuff that I've shot over the years. Thank you, Mazi, for inviting me to be on this panel. It was great to just kind of build and chop it up with you, Mansa and Layla. So thank you. And I hope this was beneficial for your audience.
Thank you so much. Let's try that again. Let's try that again. Say word. All right, Ralston.
Oh, man.
So once again, I want
Thanks.
to thank all three of you for coming through tonight. I'm a huge fan. I know you all have tons of other fans, and I really appreciate you making time on this Friday night to come and share your vision for what's possible through your mediums.
No problem, man. Appreciate the
Thank you,
opportunity.
Mazi. Thank you. It was lovely to share space with you, Mansa, Ralston, Mazi.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. And good to see you, Ralston, man.
Likewise.
Yeah, good to see you, man. It's been a minute. And I just followed you, Layla, too. So I'm gonna keep putting your work and all that, too.
Thank you. I'll follow you back for sure.
Okay. Cool.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please stay tuned. We're about to go live to DJ One Love with the end of the week mix. All right. This is actually the end of week number 3 of the Words, Beats, and Life Festival, specifically the Like a Boss Symposium, trying to help young people and aspiring artists make a way towards creative careers. All right. Holla.